Welcome to today's Meet the Funder session, where you'll learn more about the Greater Manchester Green Spaces Fund. The session is going to be delivered by Lydia and Nina. Over to you, Lydia.
Hi, so evening everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to kind of listen to us waffle on about the fund and learn a little bit about it. So just as an introduction, I work at Groundwork Greater Manchester as a community projects lead. And I am the advisor for the Rochdale area, and Nina has kindly joined us this evening, and she is the advisor for Oldham and obviously Action Together. Works across both boroughs, so I thought it would be good for her to be on here as well to kind of see that face for you guys, so you know who you'd be talking to if you put a grant in for the Oldham area. So the kind of way it's going to go this evening is I've got a presentation that I'll run through just to give a bit of background to the fund. If you've been on our website at all recently, you probably know a lot of it anyway. It's just to kind of explain maybe some of the stuff that isn't super clear through the guidance or anything that you've seen floating around. So we'll run through that, and then if we've got any time at the end, which hopefully we will do, we can have a couple of questions, and then you can take our contact details and we can arrange like site visits and things like that. So that's kind of how it's going to go. So I'll just share my screen and run through the presentation. Nina, have you got anything else that you want to say, or are we good to go?
Good to go. Thanks, Lydia. Thanks for the introduction.
No, it's all right. Hope this works. Can everyone see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
So begin. There we go. So Greater Manchester Green Spaces Fund. So yeah, like Hayley said previously, if you just pop yourselves on mute, and it's being recorded, and we'll have questions at the end. So let me just pop so I can see you all, so I'm not just talking to myself. Yeah, like I said, so we'll run through the application process and kind of who the advisors are, and any questions you have we can go through at the end. So the Green Spaces Fund has come from Greater Manchester Combined Authority, part of their 5-year environmental plan. So it's something that Andy Burnham has thought of with his team himself as a way to allow people across Greater Manchester greater access to green space across all 10 boroughs, ensuring that they are like a quality and accessible green space, not just living near fields and things like that. So that's kind of where this has come from. A little bit of background, this is a little quote that he gave. So again, to improve our green spaces, ensuring that people have greater access to them. You know, we all know in the wake of COVID how important green spaces to our well-being, mental health and physical health. So I think off the back of that, this is obviously just an important thing that we want to get right and ensure that everyone has green space that they are empowered to use and to work on, like for their communities. So this is a little bit of a timeline of where we are at the moment. So we've just launched our second round. So it opened on the 31st of October, and you have until noon of the 27th of January to submit your application. So you've got quite a bit of time currently to kind of go through and get them right and draft them and come up with some good ideas. And, you know, that's kind of Nina and myself's role, along with the other advisors, to be that critical friend throughout this process. So you've got quite a bit of time going on from now. And then at the end of Jan, hopefully things will be approved by the board and there'll be panel voting. And then hopefully February, March time, you'll be told whether you've been successful or not, and then it'll go from there, and you have a year or 12 months from then to do your project delivery and such. So and then we'll go into our third round and so on. So that's kind of where we are now. So we're at quite a good point in terms of kind of what's going on and how much time you have to really get the ball rolling with your ideas and coming back and forth between advisors. So the fund is based on 3 aims. So it's about benefiting to communities of the greatest need, tackling our climate biodiversity emergency, and empowering communities. So this is all about, like I keep saying, you know, access to quality green space, ensuring that people have that access, people from socially deprived areas have access, ensuring that, you know, we are all climate resilient for the future, ensuring that biodiversity is increase that these green spaces are resilient so that they stay sustainable beyond the project, and then also ensuring that the communities that these green spaces are in or near are empowered and encouraged to use them. So obviously that's super important. We want people to, you know, feel empowered. So this is just a list of organisations that can register, and this is all in the guidance, and I can share that with everybody afterwards, and you'll have there'll be a lot more information in there. So that just gives like a small list, and then this is about how to apply for the fund. So you can just go onto our website and there'll be a template version of the fund, as well as the fund that's the application that's online. So you have to submit it online. You can't send a paper version. So that's just something to note. And maybe make sure you do it a couple of days before the deadline, just in case there are any technical difficulties, like with any of these things. You want to give yourself a little bit of leeway there, just in case anything goes wrong. So in terms of kind of the fund and how it works, on the application form, you'll be asked like a series of questions about how your application applies to the aims, kind of what projects you want to do, how it will be sustained beyond the fund, your interpretation of accessibility and how accessible the space is. So you'll be asked to quantify your accessible hours. So whether that's you're open 3 days a week, 9 to 5, 7 days a week, 9 to 5. And I think as a kind of ballpark figure, we've gone for similar times as council parks. So like 8 till 8, 7 days a week, to ensure that people have access. If it can be opened any more than that, then, you know, that's excellent, that's brilliant. We just want to ensure that anybody can use the space, and it's not just for like one group. It's, you know, it's got to be for everybody. You'll be asked about how it applies to the aim, so you've got to think about your community's need and kind of why the fund will be good for your local area and the space, and kind of why it's more important than maybe just the local park down the road. You know, what extra qualities does that space have that make you suitable for the fund? And like that goes through all of that in the guidance, and you can obviously talk to the advisors about how you write your application and where it goes from there. So from application submission, the advisors will carry on being a critical friend. We're there to help you with costings, supplier lists, project delivery. So if you, let's say that you've put in an application before, and you know you're quite well versed in that sort of thing, but you've never done the project delivery before, we can come in and help you there, or vice versa. If you know put project delivery in, put an application in but you're good with project delivery, then we can help you in that respect. So we're kind of here to hold your hand through the entire process whenever you need us. Kind of that's how we'll help you. So that's the process. It's also quite important at the end of the guidance, there's some information on the mapping, and this is how the panels will look at your application. So they'll get your application and they'll look at these mappings, and this map is the IMD map, and it just looks at your index of multiple deprivation scores, and this is the way that they can see deprivation levels in your area, and kind of the higher your deprivation, the more likely you are to be funded, because it's about people that from socially deprived areas getting access to green space. So this is a really important tool to look at, and there's a link here and a link in the guidance, and again we can help you kind of interpret that and understand that, because I'm aware that, you know, it looks kind of crazy with all the colours and it's not super easy to understand, but you know, we can help you with that and show you how it's used. So that's a really good tool, and that can help you with your application writing process and how you can talk about the community need and your group need. And then the second mapping is a Natural England map that looks at green spaces. So the one on the top, the kind of blocky one, is a greenness grid, and it looks at the percentage levels of greenness. So kind of the red is the man-made and the blue is the green, so that's helpful. And then the second map with kind of the dark blue blobs is the doorstep standard. So that's about your distance to green space. And I think, if I've got this right, is it about 200 meters, the circle?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so it's about kind of your distance to green space, and again that helps you understand kind of where they're coming from in terms of community and people's access to green space. So in terms of the projects we can fund, We can fund anything from kind of community allotments, growing spaces, orchards, kind of natural play, so like forest schools, anything that will improve a green space. So if you've got like kind of a patch of land and you want to put raised beds on it, that obviously improves the green space with flowers or wildflowers, that increases biodiversity, or food growing and empowers communities and educates them. So kind of anything and anything along that scale of green space improvement. There's not a lot, you won't get scored highly if there's a lot of grey infrastructure. So kind of try and think beyond kind of cabins and paths and stuff like that. If it's a small amount of the bid, then that's always great, but nothing, nothing too grey infrastructure heavy. It's all about the green infrastructure and all about how you can improve the green. That's the most important thing here. So trying to think, missed anything out. So this is how you will be scored. So this is also in the guidance, so it can help you whilst you're writing your application, and it just breaks down the aims into their weightings. So you obviously got the benefit to communities, tackling biodiversity, empowering communities, and sustainability. And the last one we kind of haven't touched on yet, so that's how the longevity of your project beyond the fund. So how are you going to use the fund to ensure that this continues after we've gone? Because we don't want it just to be a year-long project. We want this to continue to empower and benefit communities way after. So that's a really good thing to think about. How is it going to work beyond us being there? Because that's the most important thing. I think a lot of organisations come in and they'll do a lot of great stuff in a green space across GM, but once their funding has run out, that's it. So we kind of want to get over those barriers and ensure that people are able to benefit from these projects way after the fund. So that's a really important thing to think about, and kind of maybe get a project plan or an activity plan to determine what you're going to do there. But this is a great thing to have kind of next to you whilst you're writing your application, because it shows you kind of the really different important aspects of the fund. So that's really good. And I think this is just about the IMD and green space, like I spoke about, but I show you the maps because I think they're a little bit easier to understand. And once you see them, they're not as scary as when you're reading through the guidance and you see them. So that's always good. So I think, like I said, we're kind of at the very start of our second round. So you've got an awful lot of time. The draft applications come up with ideas. We can do site visits and meetings to determine kind of how your project goes. And yeah, I'm trying to think if I feel like I've rambled on at the speed of light. So please tell me if anything didn't make sense or you want me to revisit anything. I can do that. I don't know if Nina, have you got anything to add so far?
No, I think you've covered everything, Lydia. Yeah, thank you.
No, it's okay. So I think, obviously the advisors, I've not run through us. The Monday, it's only the start. So we're advisors, as I said at the start. So there's 5 organisations involved in the kind of advisory team. So there's Groundwork, and Nina works for RHS. And then there's So the City, Lancashire Wildlife Trust, and City of Trees. And the reason it's kind of us guys in an advisory team is we all bring different specialisms to the table. So we can all advise you as a general advisor with your project delivery and your application and all of that. But we can also kind of collaborate with one another to deliver special aspects. So for example, if you wanted to do something that was horticultural based, then we could talk Nina and talk about how RHS can help and her specialisms, or we can talk to So the City about food growing or stuff like that, or City of Trees about planting an orchard or trees. So we can kind of pull in each other's specialisms really easily, and we can discuss applications. And I think that just makes it extra special that you've got us on hand who do this all the time. We're really well versed in this kind of stuff, which does not as scary as it seems. And that's why we're your critical friends, because we, this is what we do. We have specialisms, we have supplier lists. We can really help you get a really top caliber application. So they're the organisations, and these are the contact details. So mine is here and Nina's is here, and I can share them when I send all the information over later. But that gives you kind of a better idea of why we've got an advisory team and why that I think makes Green Spaces a little bit better as a fund, is you've got that more human touch from the beginning to the end. It's not just you submit and then you get the money and that's it and you report. You've got someone there to help you from beginning to end to really make it a really, really high caliber application. So that's the advisors. And again, you can pull on all of us in a respect if you kind of want advice from everybody, or you can just stick to one. It's really up to you how you feel about how you want to go about this. We take your guys' lead on this. We don't, it's all about you. It's not about us. So I guess I'll stop talking and let you guys talk. So if anyone's got any questions.